Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to slice through a stack of sources, pull out the really compelling stuff just for you.
Hmm.
Today, we are plunging deep, really deep, into a world hidden beneath the waves. We're talking about one of literature's most iconic vessels.
That's right. Yeah, our source material for this one comes straight from Jules Verne's. Well, it's a classic, isn't it? 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas.
Absolutely.
We've got excerpts here covering pretty much everything.
Yeah.
A huge global mystery, some truly groundbreaking tech for its time, and these really human moments playing out in, the most isolated place imaginable.
Right. So our mission, yours and mine, is to navigate these pages together. We'll pull out the most exciting bits of knowledge, maybe uncover some surprising details you missed,
Yeah.
and really help you understand this incredible world Verne cooked up, and maybe more importantly, the super complex guy at the center of it all.
Captain Nemo.
Exactly. Think of this as like your express ticket to being genuinely clued in on this specific bit of literary and actually scientific history.
Okay, let's dive in then. So the story kicks off, and the whole world is basically in an uproar.
Yeah, it's chaos. Ships, like the Scotia, the source mentions that one specifically, but others too, they're being attacked out on the open sea.
And it's not just, running aground or hitting a reef.
No, no, the damage is weirdly precise, like a hole, what, 2 meters wide below the waterline?
Yeah, and caused by what the sources are calling a cutting or perforating instrument. Very deliberate.
Doesn't sound like a whale.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not accidental. And at first, people are thinking, okay, secret war machine, right? Some new kind of underwater boat built by, I don't know, a rival nation.
Makes sense initially,
But that idea kind of falls apart pretty quick. The source says governments actually issue formal denials.
which they would, maybe, but it also points out it'd be almost impossible, even back then, to hide building something that big on a national scale. The secrecy needed.
Right, too many people involved.
Yeah.
Too much material. So, okay, if it's not man-made,
Yeah,
what's left?
that's when things get wild.
Totally. The imagination just explodes. You get the press, scientists, everyone starts throwing out theories about, giant sea creatures. The source calls it wild ichthyological fantasies running rampant. Kraken, maybe?
Or something weirder. Which brings us to our narrator, Professor Pierre Aronnax.
Ah, yes. The expert.
He's this renowned figure, wrote a big book, The Mysteries of the Great Ocean Depths, so naturally the press is all over him. What do you think, Professor?
But he's hesitant at first, isn't he? He knows the ocean, knows what's supposed to be possible.
Exactly. He's cautious, but the pressure keeps building, and then the clincher.
Yeah.
A letter arrives from the Secretary of the Navy, J.B. Hobson.
Ah, the official call-up.
Pretty much. That's the moment Aronnax feels, well, compelled, really, to accept the American government's offer. He's joining the hunt.
So he drops everything. Wasn't he planning a break?
Yeah, supposed to be resting. But nope, he heads straight for the Brooklyn Pier to board the frigate Abraham Lincoln.
Talk about cutting it fine.
Seriously. The source says he arrives just as the ship under Commander Farragut is casting off. 15 minutes later, he would miss the whole thing, this unearthly, extraordinary, and inconceivable expedition, as he puts it.
Wow, okay, so aboard the Abraham Lincoln, we meet another key character,
Ned Land.
the master harpooner. He's very practical, down-to-earth kind of guy.
And totally skeptical about this whole monster business, especially the idea it's some giant narwhal with a tusk strong enough to punch through iron hulls.
Right, he argues with Aronnax about it. He's like, okay, maybe an old wooden ship, fine, but these modern ironclads, no way.
Aronnax tries other ideas, giant devilfish maybe, but dismisses them himself, calls them harmless mollusks. It just shows nobody really has a clue what they're dealing with.
Just confusion. So the hunt gets underway. They're in the Pacific. Commander Farragut plays it safe, strategy-wise, stay in deep water.
Yeah, thinks the creature avoids the shallows.
And then they find it, or it finds them.
Oh yeah, the encounter. The source describes this thing, this unearthly animal coming towards the Abraham Lincoln.
And the speed. It's incredible. Like, double the frigate's speed. And the frigate was already doing 14 knots, which was fast for the time.
It's almost playing with them, circling around, giving off this weird, eerie electric light.
Yeah, like luminous dust in the water. Super strange.
Then it backs off, only to charge back even faster, stops dead, the light goes out, then boom, reappears right beside them.
Collision course. Unavoidable.
And the impact sounds brutal. The light just vanishes.
And then 2 enormous waterspouts crashed onto the deck. Just chaos, damage, Crewmen thrown about.
Including our narrator, Aronnax gets tossed right into the ocean.
Plunged into darkness. So, okay, Aronnax is in the water. Freezing, probably terrified.
Floating in the middle of nowhere.
But then, by sheer luck, maybe,
Yeah.
or fate, he's found.
By his assistant, Conseil. Incredibly loyal guy. And Ned Land is there too.
The three of them clinging to some wreckage.
But they're not picked up by a normal ship.
Oh,
no.
They get taken aboard the very thing that attacked them.
Can you imagine? Their first sensation inside, it's the sudden, blinding light. Super intense, electric light.
Coming from a frosted half-globe in the ceiling, it's just instantly clear this is way beyond current technology.
Then they see the crew. The source describes one guy, short, stocky, really muscular.
With a kind of southern-blooded zest, it says, and speaking a language nobody recognizes.
Totally incomprehensible. And then the man himself appears.
Captain Nemo.
And he doesn't waste any time, does he? Lays down the law immediately.
Straight to business. Declares them prisoners of war. Simple as that.
But he offers them a deal, sort of, freedom, but only aboard the vessel.
Right. With one massive condition. Unquestioning obedience, especially when he needs to lock them up for secrecy.
And he adds this weird justification saying their obedience basically absolves them of any responsibility for whatever he does.
Which is convenient for him.
You can guess Ned Land's reaction.
Oh, yeah. He's having none of it. Refuses point blank.
And Nemo's response, it's chilling, absolutely cold.
He just lays it out. You attacked me. More importantly, you stumbled onto the secret of my entire existence.
A big one.
Yeah. And because of that, he says, I will never send you back. Keeping them isn't about punishing them. It's for his sake, his own survival, his secret.
So the choice is pretty stark. Life on the Nautilus or, well, death in the ocean.
Not much of a choice, really.
It's a defining moment. Shows you who Nemo is right away. Aronnax, seeing no other option, accepts.
But the source adds a little detail. Aronnax notes internally that no actual promises, no solemn oaths were made, keeping that door slightly ajar, mentally at least.
Smart. Always thinking. And then something interesting happens.
Nemo recognizes Aronnax, not just his face.
This book, The Mysteries of the Great Ocean Depths. Nemo's actually read it.
Yeah. And he tells Aronnax something like, Professor, despite all your studies, you haven't seen anything yet, implying the Nautilus. This is where the real discoveries are.
Which sets up Aronnax's big conflict perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. He's a prisoner, desperate for freedom, but he's also a scientist offered the ultimate field trip.
Trapped, but with a front row seat to the unknown. That's the core of his experience.
Absolutely. Imprisonment versus unparalleled access.
Okay, let's talk about the Nautilus itself. Life aboard this miracle machine. The sources give us glimpses of the interior.
Yeah, they describe the dining room. It's got this austere good taste, apparently.
Fancy. And the tableware. Aronnax reckons it's of incalculable value.
So, not just functional. There's luxury here, too. But the really mind-blowing thing about Nemo's world
is where everything comes from.
Exactly. His absolute self-sufficiency. He claims he gets everything he needs straight from the sea.
And he means everything. This isn't just, fishing.
No way. It's a whole philosophy. His food isn't stuff brought from land. It's fish, sure, but also sea cucumbers, specific types of seaweed.
Like Porphyra laciniata, Laurencia prima fetida. Sounds exotic.
Definitely. He even makes his own booze. A fermented liquor from Rhodymenia palmata, another seaweed.
Okay, that's commitment. And his clothes.
Not wool or cotton, nope. Made from the superfine threads, the filaments of mollusks. Byssus, probably.
Wow. And dyed.
With ink from Murex snails, Tyrian popal, or maybe a marine slug. His mattress, eelgrass, his pen, whalebone.
Don't tell me.
Cuttlefish, or squid ink, of course.
Incredible.
He sums it all up. The source gives us this great quote. Everything comes to me from the sea, just as someday everything will return to it.
That really says it all. His complete break from the land-based world.
Totally. Then there's the library, or library/smoking room.
Which sounds amazing. Packed floor to ceiling with books.
Thousands of them. In loads of different languages.
Yeah.
Science, ethics, literature.
But one subject is missing, right?
Yeah. Conspicuously absent. Economics. The source says works on political economy are strictly banned.
Tells you something about Nemo's worldview.
Definitely. But he's got Homer, Victor Hugo, Humboldt, Arago, Faraday, all the big names in science and literature. And guess what else Aronnax finds?
Let me guess, his own book.
Bingo. The Mysteries of the Great Ocean Depths is right there on the shelf.
Must have been a weird moment for him. prisoner but respected scholar in his captor's library.
Very weird. And there's another clue in the library. A book by Joseph Bertrand, the founders of astronomy, published in 1865.
Ah, so that dates things. The Nautilus couldn't have been fully kitted out before 1865.
Exactly. And Nemo mentions he started his underwater life about 3 years before Aronnax came aboard. So maybe around 1865, 1866 is when the Nautilus really launched its career.
Okay, how does this thing actually move, besides fast?
Well, Nemo explains it. Standard horizontal rotor for steering left and right. That's normal enough.
But the up and down, that's the clever bit.
Totally. It uses these slanted fins on the sides. They're flexible by changing their angle.
It can glide up or down diagonally through the water.
Precisely. And for going straight up, it uses the propeller, the thrust, pushes it vertically. The source has this great image.
Like a balloon.
Yeah, like an air balloon inflated with hydrogen lifts swiftly into the skies. Very evocative.
And building this thing, it wasn't simple.
Oh, not at all. The source reveals it was this massive international secret construction project.
Secret is the key word.
Absolutely. Pieces were ordered from major industrial firms all over the world. Crusoe in France, Pen & Co. in London, Laird's in Liverpool.
Scott's in Glasgow, Kalingtoe in Paris, Krupp in Prussia, Motala in Sweden, Hartbros.
Fake names, presumably. Commissioned secretly. It just shows. Nemo wasn't just some lone inventor in a basement.
No, he had resources, serious resources, and incredible planning skills to pull that off without anyone noticing.
Unbelievable logistical feat.
So they're not just on the Nautilus, they get to experience the ocean floor directly.
Right. They go for walks on the seabed. In diving suits.
Early diving suits must have been bulky, and they had lights.
Electric lights, powered by Ruhmkorff devices. Basically, early induction coils giving high voltage. Powerful stuff for the time.
And the light underwater, surprisingly clear.
Yeah, Aronnax is amazed. At just 30 feet down, he says he could see as if it was broad daylight. It just opened up this whole hidden world.
But it wasn't always peaceful walks, right? There's that tense moment.
Oh yeah, where Nemo suddenly tackles Aronnax and Conseil forces them flat on the seabed.
Just as something huge and glowing flashes past overhead.
Exactly. Huge phosphorescent shapes hurtling by. It's a quick reminder that even Nemo doesn't know everything down there. Or maybe he does, and he knows what to avoid. There are still dangers.
Makes sense. Nemo also shares some of his own scientific theories, right, about the ocean itself?
He does. He talks about the sheer amount of salt dissolved in the water.
And how important it is.
Vitally important. He argues it prevents the oceans from evaporating too much, basically stabilizing the whole global climate.
Huh. Interesting idea. And the currents.
He describes this constant vertical circulation, a double current rising and falling, driven by evaporation at the surface.
So water goes up as vapor, comes down elsewhere.
And this circulation brings nutrients up from the deep, which is why marine life is so incredibly intense, he says. Way more abundant than life on land.
He's really thought about this stuff deeply. He even has visions for the future, underwater cities.
Yeah, he talks about nautical towns, independent underwater households, a whole new way for humanity to live, maybe, if they can embrace the sea like him.
They see some amazing natural wonders, too, like coral reefs.
Oh, spectacular stuff. Witnessing this gigantic piece of work built by tiny little polyps, fire coral, other types.
Aronnax connects it to Darwin.
Yeah. The source explicitly notes that seeing this supports Darwin's theory about how atolls form reefs, growing upwards as volcanic islands slowly sink beneath them.
Then there's a shift in tone, a more somber moment. Vanikoro.
Right. They visit the site of the La Perouse shipwreck.
The famous French explorer who vanished.
Nemo knows the whole story. He recounts how La Perouse's ships, the Compass and the Astrolabe, wrecked there. How the survivors tried to build a new boat. Their tragic end.
He even mentions Dumont d'Urville putting up a monument later. It connects their fantastical journey back to real-world maritime history and loss.
A very poignant stop. Their route also takes them near Papua.
Which, the source notes, is geographically interesting, explored by various people, and they encounter natives.
Yeah, and Nemo gets philosophical, ironic maybe. He sees the natives on the shore and sort of questions the term savages.
Like, are they really any worse than so-called civilized people?
Pretty much. A bit of cynical commentary there, but he's also completely confident the Nautilus is untouchable. Nothing the natives could do would harm it.
Even amidst all this deep-sea stuff, they still see surface life occasionally.
Oh yeah, glimpses of the familiar world. Seabirds, gulls, albatrosses, tropic birds, little reminders of the world they left behind.
It's this constant mix, isn't it? Cutting-edge science, history, philosophy, natural wonder.
All woven together through Nemo's unique perspective.
Okay, let's talk about some of the human elements they encounter, particularly around Ceylon, the pearl fisheries.
Yeah, the source paints a really grim picture of that.
Primitive methods, right. Divers just holding a rock to sink faster.
Exactly. A heavy sugarloaf-shaped stone. They go down, grab what they can, signal to be pulled up, maybe stay down 30 seconds, tops.
And the physical toll, it's brutal.
Horrific. The source mentions the risks: water pressure causing bleeding from ears and nose, serious eye problems, sores all over their bodies, even dying from apoplexy right there on the seabed.
And because of that, their lifespans were incredibly short.
Desperately short.
Ah.
It's a stark contrast to Nemo's setup, isn't it? His diving suits offer complete safety, shows the potential of his tech to, actually help people if he chose to.
But he doesn't generally, though in that same area, they see something extraordinary.
The giant pearl.
Huge, right, like a coconut.
Yeah, big as a coconut, the source says. And the estimated value is staggering, at least 10,000 francs.
A fortune. But Nemo,
He just looks at it, doesn't take it. He decides to leave it there, let it keep growing.
like a farmer tending a crop.
Kind of. He even hints he might be cultivating these things, maybe introducing irritants, like pearl farmers did in China, to encourage growth. He sees it more as a superb natural curiosity than cash.
Fascinating. Then they actually watch one of the Indian divers at work.
Yeah, using that simple ancient technique, the stone, the rope, kneeling down there at maybe 5 meters for just that half-minute cycle.
Really brings home how vulnerable those guys were.
And then things get dramatic. Sharks show up.
Melanoptera, the source calls them. Black-tip reef sharks, probably.
Yeah.
And they're attracted by a corpse.
Yeah, near the fishing grounds. It's grim. And then Captain Nemo acts.
He jumps in.
Well, the source is a little ambiguous on exactly what happens with the specific diver they were watching, but it clearly shows Nemo intervening against the sharks. It highlights his matchless bravery.
And his devotion to a human being, right? That's a key phrase.
Crucial. It suggests that even though he's exiled himself, turned his back on humanity, he hasn't completely shut down his heart. There's still empathy there, somewhere.
A crack in the facade.
A tiny one, yeah. It makes it even more complex.
Okay, moving on. They travel through the Red Sea.
Which the source notes has this long history as a trade route. And it's becoming important again because of the Suez Project. The railways were already there, hinting at the canal to come. They see it from both inside the sub and up on the surface.
Then near Greece, Nemo gets out his charts.
Yeah, points out these new volcanic islands that have popped up near Pelea Kameni since 1866.
And he calls it construction work.
Right. Comparing volcanoes building islands to tiny organisms building continents. It's all part of nature's grand, slow process in his view.
The journey continues. Gibraltar next.
Straight as Gibraltar. They use a countercurrent, a deep current flowing opposite the surface one, to get through fast.
Clever navigation. And Aronnax sees something.
A quick glimpse of undersea ruins. The legendary Temple of Hercules, supposedly. Mentioned by ancient writers like Pliny. Just a flash of submerged myth. And then the big pond, the Atlantic.
Yeah, the source takes a moment to emphasize its sheer size, its importance, all the rivers flowing into it from, civilized Europe and wilderness Africa and America. Mentions famous capes, like the Cape of Tempest, this Cape Horn.
Setting the stage for more discoveries. And a big one comes in the Bay of Vigo, off Spain.
Ah, Vigo Bay. Nemo explains the history here.
Yeah, October 22, 1702. A huge naval battle, fleets destroyed. And crucially, Spanish galleons loaded with treasure were sunk there.
Scuttled to keep the gold and silver from the enemy.
And Nemo reveals this is where he gets his funding.
He harvests the treasure from the seabed.
Calls it his inexhaustible fishing. Aronnax actually watches the crew down there, gathering chests of gold and silver. This is how Nemo finances his entire operation. His independence isn't just philosophical, it's literal.
Wow. Okay, so after Vigo, Aronnax checks the map again.
And the reality sinks in. They're 150 leagues off the coast. Hundreds of miles.
Escape just became basically impossible.
Any lingering hope? Gone. Ned Land apparently loses it, throws a tantrum. But Aronnax, he finds this weird sense of calm. Acceptance, maybe.
Resignation, perhaps. Later they do another seabed walk, but this one's different. There's a strange light.
A reddish glow. Aronnax doesn't know what it is. Maybe some weird electrical thing, a natural phenomenon nobody's seen before.
But we're people. He wonders if it could be Nemo's hidden companions, maybe even one of those underwater colonies Nemo dreamed about.
His mind is racing. Is he finally going to see An underwater town.
Then, boom, revelation! The
Yep.
actual Atlantis!
Yeah.
Revealed by volcanic light.
That's what Aronnax believes he's seeing. He instantly recognizes it, connects it to Plato, the ancient myths, the debates about whether it was real.
And seeing it, it's unimpeachable evidence for him. Mystery solved.
Can you imagine? He wishes he could go explore the cities, Makamos, Eusebes, but they just observe. The source notes there are underwater volcanoes nearby, even suggesting plutonic forces might make Atlantis rise again someday.
Mind blown. Okay, where else do they go? They find Nemo's secret base, right?
His home port, hidden inside the crater of an extinct volcano.
Like a Bond villain's lair.
Totally. Nemo calls it secure, convenient, secret. Perfectly hidden. And inside, his crew aren't just sailors, they're miners.
Mining coal underwater.
Yep. They dig coal from seams within the volcano. They use this coal to make sodium.
Again, the sodium.
They burn it. The smoke goes up the crater, making it look like the volcano is still active from the outside. Brilliant camouflage.
That's genius. And the crater itself, it's like its own little ecosystem.
Yeah, unique plants and animals, birds of prey, bustards that Ned actually hunts, special crustaceans, samphire growing there, a hidden world within a hidden world.
They also check out the Sargasso Sea.
Right. Nemo explains Commander Moray's theory about how all the floating debris gets trapped there in the calm center of the big Atlantic currents, the gyres, like the Gulf Stream.
Stuff just accumulates.
Exactly. And Maury had this cool idea, which Nemo shares, that over millennia, all this vegetation and debris will compress and petrify.
Becoming future coal deposits. Nature stocking up reserves for humanity.
That's the idea, a really long-term perspective.
Aronnax still pushes Nemo on the science sometimes, though, about deep-sea life.
He does. He brings up recent findings. People had dredged up oysters and starfish from like 2,500 meters deep, gently questioning Nemo's earlier claim that those depths were totally lifeless or unknown.
Keeping the scientific debate alive, even as a prisoner.
Always the professor. And speaking of science, they even do underwater photography.
From the lounge window, using the electric lights.
Yeah, getting pictures with perfect clarity, documenting the abyss.
It really shows how Verne was incorporating cutting-edge ideas and tech into the fantasy.
Absolutely. Blending the known and the imagined seamlessly.
Okay, as we head towards the end of these excerpts, the danger level really ramps up. They go south.
Way south, to the South Pole.
Through icebergs. Must have been incredible scenery.
Stunning. The source describes some icebergs looking like enormous amethysts. Just beautiful.
And past the main ice barrier, they find open water.
Surprisingly, yes. An open polar sea. Aronnax feels a comparative springtime there. Warmer than expected.
And they actually land at the South Pole itself.
What they find is volcanic ground. Tuff, slag, lava, pumice. Smoke holes suggesting underground volcanic activity.
Echoing real discoveries like Mount Erebus and Terror found by Ross.
Exactly. And there are polar birds, sheathbills, albatrosses, petrels. Ned and Conseil even collect some specimens.
Leads to a moment of reflection.
Yeah, Conseil wonders aloud how strange it will feel to go back to the civilized world after seeing all these incredible, untouched places.
Foreshadowing, maybe? Because that wonder turns into absolute terror pretty fast.
Oh yeah, they get trapped. The ice closes in around them.
The ice bank, it shifts, seals them under the ice sheet at 350 meters deep.
And the clock is ticking. Air supply, only enough for 2 days.
Aronnax is despairing. He feels the ice like jaws closing in. Nemo has a plan, right?
Yeah.
Cut their way out.
Yeah, try to break through the ice wall. But even Nemo admits, if the ice freezes solid all around them before they escape, the pressure will crush the Nautilus.
They can't rely on the sub's strength alone. It's down to their own efforts against the ice. Terrifying.
Absolutely harrowing. Later, back in the Atlantic, another massive threat.
Right.
A hurricane.
Near Long Island. And Nemo, he doesn't hide from it.
No, he chooses to ride it out on the surface, gets himself lashed to the platform.
Defying the storm.
Totally. An act of pure will against the elements. The source describes these monstrous waves, the Nautilus pitching violently. It's a display of his incredible nerve and the sub's resilience.
They also track the transatlantic cable for a bit and revisit a wreck.
The Marseillais, that French war cube from 1762, sunk near Ireland.
And Nemo gives more backstory this time.
Yeah, talks about its battles and how it was escorting a vital convoy of wheat from America when it went down, strongly implying it sank, protecting its cargo.
And another hint about Nemo's past, his feelings about naval warfare, sacrifice maybe.
Possibly. It adds another layer. And then they see another ship, a modern one.
A warship. Ned spots the pennant, knows what it is, even if he can't tell the nationality at first.
And this triggers the big realization for Aronnax. The final piece clicks into place.
He connects this warship pursuing them now, all the way back to the Abraham Lincoln incident, Ned's harpoon hitting the hull.
Exactly. He understands. The world knows. The monster isn't a monster. It's a submarine. It's the Nautilus.
And more than that, he finally sees Nemo clearly.
He sees the implacable hate. He realizes Nemo is using this incredible machine for works of vengeance. That incident in the Indian Ocean, the corpse Nemo buried in the coral cemetery. It all makes horrifying sense now.
Nemo isn't just an exile exploring. He's actively fighting back against someone, something.
This is the dark secret Aronnax stumbled upon. Nemo, the vengeful warrior of the seas.
So with this warship bearing down on them, knowing Nemo's intentions, Ned and Aronnax face a terrible choice.
Desperate debate time. Do they try to escape now, or do they stay and potentially die with the warship rather than be party to Nemo's revenge?
Heavy stuff. What do they decide?
Wait for nightfall. Try to slip away then.
Now that atmosphere leading up to
Yeah.
whatever Nemo's planning.
Eerie calm. The source describes this profound silence on the Nautilus. Just cruising steadily, rolling gently on the waves, the calm before the storm, literally and figuratively.
But we don't see the attack, do we? Aronnax doesn't describe it.
No, because that's when they make their break. They try to escape in the small boat, the dinghy.
And then all hell breaks loose.
They're fleeing north, the Nautilus moving at incalculable speed. They lose track of everything, time, location, just confusion, high Arctic mists. Aronnax feels like he's being pulled into some terrifying, unreal place, like something out of Edgar Allan Poe.
And just when you think it can't get worse, the very end of Aronnax's account in these extracts.
One final, immediate, catastrophic danger. Noise inside the Nautilus. Shouts. Hurried voices.
Ned shoves a dagger into Aronnax's hand, and then someone yells the word.
Maelstrom.
Oh no, the legendary whirlpool off Norway.
They've escaped one danger only to be flung straight into another, perhaps even worse one. Drawn into the abyss.
What an ending. Just abrupt peril.
Leaves you hanging, doesn't it? A dramatic, terrifying cliffhanger.
Wow, okay. We have covered so much ground in this deep dive. I mean, from that initial global mystery, the speculation.
Right, through all the incredible underwater sites, the technology, the visits to historical wrecks, coral kingdoms, Atlantis itself.
To the poles of the Earth, moments of real human connection or lack thereof, and then these final intense perils, ice storms, warships.
And the Maelstrom, yeah, it's an epic sweep. And through it all, we've seen Captain Nemo emerge. He's just so complex.
Right, brilliant scientist, amazing engineer, totally self-sufficient exile, seems to appreciate art and knowledge.
But also driven by this deep, implacable hate. The sea is his refuge, yeah, but it's also clearly his weapon.
And we saw it all through Aronnax's eyes, mostly. The ultimate observer, torn between that scientific buzz and just wanting to go home.
Along with Conseil's ever-loyal, just classifying things.
And Ned Land, the practical guy, always dreaming of stake and solid ground. Their dynamic is great.
It really is. And you see how Verne was working with the science of his day, oceanography, marine biology, electricity, but then just took these imaginative leaps.
Building this world that felt, kind of plausible in some ways, but also completely fantastical.
That's the magic of it.
Yeah.
And hopefully, by pulling out these specific details, these quotes, these little moments from the text.
You, listening, get a much richer sense of the story. Maybe see layers you hadn't noticed before, even if you've read it.
Yeah, it's more than just the plot outline. It's the texture, the ideas Verne was playing with.
Definitely. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What actually did happen in the Maelstrom?
Yeah.
Did they survive? Did Nemo? And maybe the bigger question, Captain Nemo's choice. This radical life outside society, fueled by vengeance, wrapped in mystery, does that make him a visionary ahead of his time? Or a monster? Or is he just something else entirely?
Something deeply, fascinatingly, dangerously human, perhaps, hidden in the depths.